internet. I've decided I'm going to do a new series called All the Mods, for lack of a better name. And basically what I thought I'd do is I'll look at all the different motorcycles I have here in my shop and kind of do a look-see at the different modifications I've made to them over time, and just kind of list them out and give you some resources if you're looking to do the same if you happen to have that bike. But to start with, I'm going to focus initially with the bodywork off the one side here of my 2020 Honda CRF 250L. And this bike, the reason that I've got all the bodywork off, if you watched one of my episodes from earlier this summer, I guess it was, where I did a let's just say a slow off on a gravel road out in Montana, I kind of scraped the crap out of all the bodywork on this side. I've got a few more things to do. I've got a new decal coming from FMF. You can kind of see where that's all scraped up. Some of the scars on the engine, they are just gonna stay there as mementos, I guess. But the bodywork I'm gonna work on. I'll do some more filming once I've got it all put back together. But with this bike, I've done a lot of mods to it, so I thought I'd start with, since I've got the seat off and the bodywork off, I'll show you I did the K&N air filter, which is very, very nice. I've had it in there for about 3,500 miles. It doesn't even need to be cleaned. And then I did this modification kit where you basically, they send you a second cover. I've got the original OEM one, but I drilled, you drill holes and you insert these breathers in there. And then I also pulled, if you have a stock one, there's a snorkel that goes in there. And I figured the odds of me riding in water that's deeper than, say, 2 feet are slim to none. So I figured I was fine with that. I'm not planning to go traverse the Amazon River or something like that. So that's kind of why, I did this and upgraded the air filter. So the other thing that, while the seat's off, you can see I've also got the EJK jet kit. The reason for that is because I bought the FMF Q4, both the muffler, well actually the entire exhaust, and I've got the header is the, they call it the PowerBomb, which actually gives you a bit more top end speed. They have a different one called the Mega Bomb that's more for like low end, that sort of thing. And what I did do, besides the exhaust, I also changed the gearing on this a little bit. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the short version is that I wanted to make sure that I had this dialed in correctly. It's, I'm going to say, damn near perfect with the addition of that controller. It wasn't cheap, but it was totally worth the cost of the additional performance, being able to breathe better first through the airbox, and then actually being able to breathe better going out or exhaling. So it's like anything else, as anyone knows that's ever worked on a motorcycle, it's all about getting a lot of air in, a lot of air out quickly. That gives you a boost in horsepower. I don't know, I've not dynoed this, but I'm gonna guess maybe it added a couple, 3 horsepower. Don't know, doesn't matter. Also under the skin here, you can see I did the larger gas tank. That's the, I think it's the IMS brand. It's like 3.5 gallons, which is really great on this bike, because if I'm conservative, I get 60 miles to a gallon anyway. So it's kind of it's nice to have over the stock tank, which is really almost too small. And what's nice is this looks kind of massive, but if I go on the other side, and you'll see, the bodywork fits so nicely, it's integrated so nicely into it that you really almost don't even notice that it's a much larger tank. I didn't even have to cut away anything or make any changes that way. So I'm going to pause this for a minute and kind of continue on here. Once I get some bodywork back on, and I'll talk about some of the other mods I've made to this bike. But that's just the kind of the under the seat or behind the scenes type of mods that I've made, and we'll keep going. Yeah, even Nelson Rigg, some of those. So I'm not going to show you too much for the way that this was equipped for my ride out west. I'll try and put a still photo in here of the way it looked with all the gear on it. But I have one mod that's left, and I've kind of preemptively put my Öhlins stickers on here. I'm going to be replacing the rear shock from stock with a lovely bit of gold bling from Öhlins with the yellow spring on it. That's just a bit of a project. I haven't quite gotten to that, but that'll be next. So I've already repaired most all of the body damage. You can see here it's looking pretty decent. There's a few things that aren't perfect. Still some scratches here, which is fine. Those are scars. It's good to have a couple. I've got a new graphic from FMF. I'm going to replace that. So one or two minor things left. But just to start with, I already talked about the performance mods with the exhaust and the controller that's under the seat. So I'll kind of go next here to my Corbin seat that I've got. It is a lovely piece of work. I will say so much more comfortable than stock. It took a little bit of finessing to get it to fit, but I totally recommend this seat for you. Normally I like riding Sargent seats, but I don't believe at the time I got this that they had one available. So I went with the Corbin model. It's very firm, but very comfortable. I already mentioned the larger tank, which is the only thing you give up is you don't get a locking gas cap, but you know, whatever, it's fine. It's easy to fill when you just unscrew that guy. Some of the bling things, I guess you could say, you know, I've got some of the Zeta red anodized pieces, like the sprocket cover over here. On this side, you know, the oil filter cover, this little guy, this little guy. Again, it's just, you know, trying to jazz it up a little bit, give it some look that I like. So I've got the Zeta Handguard here. This is the one that got damaged. I got it pretty well repaired, repainted, and I went with this CR, which is Chad Reed high bars with a Pro Taper extension, so that when I stand, it's much easier to hold onto these bars. Obviously, as you've seen on my other bikes, I have this RAM mount for my phone, and my my Garmin GPS mount over there. Makes life nice to have all those things. I've got the power supply here. This actually is really nice because it plugs right into, there's a wiring harness that has an outlet for it. So that was a pretty easy install, and I can have a cord right there, plug my phone in when I need to. I've got this SRC guard for the front, so kind of a rock guard for the front for the headlight. And actually I upgraded the headlight to what was it called? It was a Predator or something. It's actually much brighter, and even has its own fan, cooling fan built into it. See if I can find that. Kind of looking at my list of things that I've gotten for this. I'll put a note of what that is. And then also from SRC, I've got this Radiator Guard. Again, rock protection, just trying to make sure that you know, as minimal damage as possible if something comes up. Again, other protection things, this Zeta front disc guard. And actually on the back, I've got this one here from, I think it's Fastway, that you can see with the scratches. It actually was extremely useful to have that on there when I kind of had the damage that happened to the other parts of the bike. Very, very nice to have something to protect that rear disc. A lot of people never think about that. I've got this trigger brake lever which folds, which is also nice, that has this restraining, I guess you could call it a restraining harness that keeps you from hyperextending your master cylinder back here. Plus I've got this protector on there. This is kind of like fake carbon fiber, a little bit worse for wear, but this is really more what matters, is to keep the master cylinder safe. You can see my bash plate from Flatland, pretty heavy duty, works really, really well. Very happy with that. Haven't had to bounce over rocks or trees too much, but it's nice to have it. Let's see. Pretty much stock on the bodywork, nothing unusual there. I did decide to go ahead and paint the covers here black on the exhaust and then on the toolkit side, only because I think it just looks better. That's just me. Also went with Renthal chain rings. Didn't change out the chain at all. Got some guards here that are different than stock, certainly. And then one other thing that's kind of unusual is I've got this Scott oiler system. That this is the reservoir. I've got the line that runs down all the way here, comes down along the swing arm, and actually comes out right here, so I can adjust the amount of oil that gets dripped onto the chain and the sprocket back here. I've got here's my little interface there, so I can adjust that on the fly. It tells me how full it is or not. I was going to say, most of these, you know, items along here are from Zeta, like these chain guides and things like that. I did change the gearing a little bit in the back. I think the stock on this was 14. I'm not sure, but anyway, I changed it to a 42 in the rear and 13 in the front, and then I put in a speed DRD. It's a speedo recalibrator, so that it adjusts, actually adjusts my display, my factory display, so that it displays correctly. It's like within a mile an hour accurate. So this is actually kind of a nice thing, because this gives me a bit more low end. I can still hit 70 miles an hour on this bike. It's got a fair amount of horsepower. I won't kid you, for 250 I'm really impressed. But I wanted to have a little bit of a bigger sprocket in the rear for a bit more low end, and that's why I put on that that PowerBomb and the FMF exhaust, so that I have more power in the high end from that. This is also folding, which is kind of nice. I think that's called the hammerhead gear shift lever. Let's see. I mentioned I've got, you know, like the luggage rack and some of the other stuff, the Rigg gear. I'm a fan of that. I just keep that tank bag on there, but when I ride longer distances, I like to have a bit more capacity. Have the folding ram mirrors, or at least the, you know, I suppose if you hit them hard enough, they would fold away or move quickly. And then also these levers that, you know, are pretty much indestructible. Very, very nice. They're shorty levers, both sides. I'm really, really glad I've got those. Those are also from, I think, Zeta, I believe. Yeah, a lot of things from Zeta. Seems to be my my main upgrade source for this. Oh, a couple more things. The headlight, I was having a hard time remembering, is actually Cyclops. So it is a much brighter headlight. And the front and rear tires, I did an upgrade from the stock to Bridgestone's TW's Trail Wings. It's a 301 in the front and a 302 in the rear. I'm really happy with these tires. Great grip. I don't ride in sand, but you know, like loose dirt, gravel, everything, they're just perfect for that. Not super aggressive. I'd say they're like a 70-30 type mix. Whereas the stock tires that came on this were more 50-50 and kind of disappointing. I also did this fat foot rest thing from SRC, just kind of bolts on there. That was actually a really nice nice improvement as well. Let me think. Oh, I was going to show you here the lights. So what's nice is I did this integrated tail light. I'll put the info on that. So on this, what's cool is when I do the signals, it just does the half of the taillight. It's just a very nice addition. And then I also did the lights integrated right into the handguards. So all of that's really good stuff. And let me shut this back off. Standard parts bin kind of dash. It's used on a lot of different Hondas, but works great. No issues or complaints about the electronics on this bike. So if someone asked me what I spent for all the upgrades on this, I'd probably have to say too much. But on the other hand, I plan to keep this bike pretty much the rest of my life. So I'm gonna get a lot of years of use out of it, and I figured I'm gonna just go ahead and make it the way I wanted it to be right at the get-go, and put on the protection it needs, the luggage it needs. Like I said, the only remaining upgrade that I can even think of that I want to do is my Öhlins shock that I'll put on the rear, and then that'll pretty much be it. Oh, the one other thing I did do too on this, I'm sure many of you have heard that this thing is kind of a dog with the suspension in the front. That's because one side has a spring, the other side has just a damper. So I actually did the kit to add the second spring on the side that only has the damper. And I'm gonna just say, they said it was a like a 15-minute job, but it took more like about an hour and a couple of beers to do that. But totally worth it. It was an immediate difference in handling, and the front end doesn't dive when you hit the brakes. So if you only do one thing to this bike, it's to put that other, I think it's Race Tech was who I got it from, put the spring in the other fork leg in the front, and make sure that you've got that done, because it makes a huge difference. The Öhlins shock in the rear, I expect will probably be also a huge difference, but for the cost, I think a lot of people maybe would have a hard time justifying it. Understand that. I think it'll be worth it. So combination of bling, protection. After experiencing what I did out in Montana, I'm really glad I had protection for like the discs, for my chain, you know, all the different places that I had protective type things on here, I think made a difference. And again, it is just a wonderful machine. Some people think 250 is too small. I'm not of that opinion. I think it's, for me, for my size, for the weight of a bike that I want, I think it's just right. I mean, hell, I can go 70 miles an hour on this thing in 6th gear. I don't need to go faster than that, and it has more than enough power to get me through, into, and out of any situation that I've encountered. So, it's a great bike, highly recommended. Unfortunately, the 250, the CRF 250L, they stopped making with this year. This is the last year of it, 2020, but they replaced it with the 300, the 300L, which is also a nice bike. They have the rally version. Not gonna say anything about those bikes. I don't know much about them, but I figure with the mods I've made to this now, to make it breathe better, the controller, the gearing, I probably have just as much horsepower as a 300. So be that as it may, it's totally customized to what I wanted it to be. Just love it. It's a great bike.